Hello and welcome to Dits on YouTube, part of Project Dits, and we are here for episode 2 of Dits on Gaming. Last week, the relaunch of Dits on Gaming occurred, and you can go back and watch that on YouTube by hitting the card above. But if you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, then just look on your podcast application right now, scroll up one or down one, and you'll probably find it. In fact, no, there's if you go in the podcast route, there's actually a lot of other podcast episodes on there. So you might need to do some digging, but it won't take you too long. It only released last week. So go and check that out. Talked about, has the Xbox Series X fallen at the final hurdle? It was a good one. It was a good one to start things off. And I wanted to strip things back just a little bit this week and not really focus on something serious. I just wanted to revisit a classic game that I have so much love for. I did a top 10 on this channel, on YouTube. I think it was, it was a long time ago now, maybe 5 or 6 months ago. And this game is nestled nicely in that top 10. I'm talking about Conker's Bad Fur Day. Hilarious game, great game, on the N64. Then it was remastered for the Xbox, and then it came out again as part of Rare Replay, which hit Xbox One. I've had so many opportunities to play this game, and every time that opportunity has presented itself, I have taken it. I love that game so much. But last week we ended the episode with a console startup screen, my favorite one to be precise, and the PlayStation 1 startup screen is the one that won, closely followed by the GameCube. Now, I said I would start this episode with a startup screen because that makes more sense than ending with that. Because then it would just be an ending screen as part of a startup screen. I'm confused myself. But we're going to do a startup screen now. And this is just a random, well, it's not a random one because I know of it. But I just looked, whilst I was doing my research for last week's startup screen, I saw a lot of them. I saw a lot of startup screens. And I've gone with this one. Now, I went with that because it made more sense following on from last week. You have PS1, you go to PS2. It's not as punchy, and it's not as nice sounding. It sounds a little bit evil in some ways, but the best bit is where it goes room. That's the best bit. Room. Who doesn't love that bit? Room. And I always remember when it turned red because there was a disc error. Oh, that happened way too much. And there's you got to clean the lens, and they had to get one of those disc cleaners with the little brushes on it. It was very weird. Technology. Frustration too. Nobody wants a read disc error or red rings of death or cartridges when you have to blow into the damn things. Woof. Nostalgia. There will come a time when we move away from disc-based games. In fact, we're already mostly there by going digital. So now we just have to. Now we have to put up with. You do not own. This is what I get on Xbox all the time. You do not own this disc. Download it, buy it again. No, I'm not doing that. Why would I do that? I've already bought it. I know I bought it because I'm £50 down. That's how I know I bought this game. So let me play it. Or you also rely on your internet connection. If your internet connection is poor, you ain't playing that game either, for the most part. Because most games, they go, yeah, you need to be online for this. And it's just weird. I don't understand why that's a thing. But there you go. Now, there's a startup screen. We've started things right. We've started things with some nostalgia and some moaning about disc errors. But if you know of this game and you've played it, or you know of it but haven't played it, this will be fun for you anyway, especially if you're watching on YouTube, because you'll get all the footage from the game. And honestly, this game is so hilarious. And just to kind of, before the segue bit hits, I have to prep you for this, because it's going to seem really random, and it's because it is. I remember playing this game. When this game came out, I want to say it was 1998 or 99. It might have been even later than that. But either way, I wasn't even 10 years old at this point, which is bad, actually, considering it was like an 18 game for mature audiences only. Yeah, I wasn't even a teenager, for Christ's sake. So when this part of the game came up, me being immature, and I'm not saying that I'm not immature anymore, because I am, but I am a man-child. I'm a man-child, so I still find this funny. But imagine a 10-year-old watching what you're about to watch. Yeah, I had to take a trip to the toilet. Very, very funny. And I still know all the words. And yes, it is a song. It is a musical number. But let's not hold off anymore. If you know this, if you know the game, if you know this song, if you know of this game, insert Step Brothers gif here. Did we just become best friends? Yup. Let's get into it.
Uh-oh.
Me. I am the great mighty Pooh, and I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat? Do you really think you'll survive in here? You don't seem to know which creek you're in. Sweet corn is the only thing that makes it through my rear. How do you think I keep this lovely grin? Now I'm really getting rather mad. You're like a niggly, tickly, shitty little tag nut. When I've knocked you out with all my bab, I'm going to take your head and ram it up my butt.
Your butt.
My butt.
Your butt.
That's right, my butt.
Ugh.
My butt. My butt! Ah, you cursed squirrel, look what you've done. I'm blushing. Oh, what a world, what a world. Who'd have thought a good little squirrel like you could destroy my beautiful clagginess? Oh, I'm going. Oh, no!
Now that's what I call a bowel movement.
Are you still here after listening or watching that? It's interesting. For context, by the way, in between the stages of the song where it starts to ramp up in tempo, to defeat the boss, and the great almighty Pooh is a boss fight in this game, you have to throw toilet paper in his mouth and clog him up. But to get him to come out in the first place, you need to feed him sweet corn. It is bizarre. But that is Conker's Bad Fur Day in a nutshell. Now, synopsis-wise, you play Conker. You're a red squirrel, and you decide to go to the pub and get pissed. But you're about to go home to your girlfriend, and oh my God, Brandy, is that her name? Oh, Brandy the squirrel. I hate that. I don't remember that. But anyway, you go to the pub, and there's these squirrels that are about to go to war. So you go, nah, I'm hanging on. Don't worry. Like, it's it's my round again. And away you go. Now your missus gets captured whilst you get increasingly pissed and then go the wrong way home. And you just end up in this crazy world in this game where there's talking bees, there's sunflowers with boobs, there's Nazi teddies, there's Matrix parodies. And by the way, that's not usually how that... If you're watching this on YouTube, you saw the clip. I didn't even realize that was a thing that you could play as Neo Conker, which you do later on at the back end of the game. But whilst all this is going on, the King Panther has one of the legs in his like throne side table is missing. So whenever he puts his glass of milk on there, it drops and smashes. So he gets his scientist right-hand man to figure out what they need, and they decide that a red squirrel perfectly fits the gap between the table and where the table leg should be. So the whole premise of the game is rescuing your girlfriend whilst a panther tries to use you as a table leg. It's as ridiculous as it sounds. It really is. But it's a wonderful game. A game made by the geniuses at Rare. Now, you could argue that they're not as big as they used to be back in their N64 days. And I would argue that point as well. You know, back in the N64 days, you had games like Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, you had Perfect Dark, you had Conker's Bad Fur Day, and then Battletoads, Jetpack Turbo, whatever that one was, Grabbed by the Ghoulies, all these kind of games that were great. And then they went to Microsoft. They did a terrible well, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. Another Banjo-Kazooie game. Oh, what was that game called? Nuts and Bolts. Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. And then the remaster of Conker, which we will get into. And Sea of Thieves was the last one they brought out. There was a huge gap between games. But they did like Viva Pinata and stuff like that as well. That was pretty fun. But Sea of Thieves was the last one they did, and I didn't enjoy that when it first came out, but by all accounts, it's actually pretty good now. And then they've got another game that's going to be coming out in the Series X, which was hyped up at the Xbox Game Showcase, which I was talking about last week, so go check that out. I forget what it's called, but it looks very not Rare. You know, I think Rare, the best Rare games are the ones that come with humor, like Conker's Bad Fur Day. So, but I say that, then GoldenEye's great, isn't it? You know, Rare's just great. Rare's just great, but they just haven't hit the heights of the Nintendo years for me, which, you know, is a shame. But this game is great. You got the campaign, and you also have multiplayer with this game as well. You know, the campaign aside, you know, a foul-mouthed squirrel pissing up and trying to save his girlfriend by going across the lands and pissing on people and throwing toilet paper in, you know, big giant poos. And it's a riot. It's an absolute riot. A great platforming game, and that's what it is. It's a platformer. But there's a multiplayer side to it as well, which is just as fun. I used to go around my best mate's house, and we used to play this game over and over and over and over and over again. Like, we would... Because he had, like, a setup where he had, like, the N64 on the TV. There was only the one TV. The N64... He had an N64, a PS1, and a GameCube all set up in his little corner there. And then he'd have a PC as well. So one of us would be on the PC playing, like, I don't know, Theme Hospital and Championship Manager and Command and Conquer, Total War. Like, it was a great time. While the other person was just playing through Conker's Bad Fur Day. But then you'd finish the campaign, which is pretty short. I think you complete it in, you know, a couple of hours. But then we'd get together, and then we'd smash out the multiplayer for a while, and then we'd switch. The other person would go on and play the Conker's Bad Fur Day campaign. Because as a 10, 11-year-old playing this game, you're just like, you know, they're swearing, and there's blood, and there's poo, and there's sick and vomit. This is amazing. It's great. We just wanted to keep playing it. But the multiplayer is the thing that I think we really spent most of our time on. There was a couple of modes. I think you had tank was one of the games where you are in a tank. Self-explanatory. Raptor, where you... Oh my god. I've just remembered something. When this episode closes out, there is the soundtrack to this game is amazing as well, by the way. There's a track that plays when you go back to like the cavemen, Stone Age kind of era. There's a little world within the campaign, and there's a great song that plays. It's so catchy. I'm going to play that as the episode goes out, so just, stick around for that. It's fun. It's really fun. And it's actually really good. There's a nightclub in that place as well, and that has a really good track in there. But I'm going to play the other one because it's upbeat and it's fun. But Raptor, it's set during that Stone Age period, and you can either play as the cavemen who have to steal the raptor eggs and then cook them, or you play as the raptors who are trying to prevent all that happening. So that's a really fun game. Then there's Beach. There's Beach, where you play as these French refugees, and you have to make your way through you start off at the beach, and you have to make your way through the map and get to these two exits at the bottom, which lead you to a truck, which then drive you off. And all the while, you're trying to avoid the two Teddy Nazis with a bazooka, a sniper rifle, and a turret, trying to stop you from doing it. That's a great multiplayer experience as well. And then you've got Heist. Later on in the game, you find out there's like a little gangster portion of it, and the multiplayer feeds into the campaign, all over the shop. But this one, you have to take the money from the vault and then take it back to your own little base. So it's a grab and stash kind of thing. There's 4 teams, like red, blue, whatever. But that one's really fun. And there's one called War, and I think it is just a death match, but there's I forget what it is. It's either like a canister that you deliver to the central point of the map under the ground, and it blows everything up on the map. I think it is a death match all in all, but that kind of just kills everything on the map, and you get a lot of points for it. But you have to get to the shelter at the bottom before things blow up, which is tense because you're like, gotta get there, and then it just goes, and everyone just explodes into a million pieces. What else is there? I'm sure there's other modes that I've forgotten, but it's amazing that is the multiplayer. It's such a good time, and unfortunately, I'm gonna skip forward a generation here and go to the Xbox. Microsoft acquired Rare, which I did think at the time maybe we'll get Conker on the Xbox in some way, and we did. They remastered Conker, and the campaign was good. It had HD graphics. It looked amazing. Like, if you're watching the video version of this, you'll be able to see that now. But it took a lot of the stuff out of it. Like, it wasn't as mature as the N64 version was, and a big part of the humor with this game is the fact that it has uncensored stuff. But when it's not, when you get the beeps and stuff that are playing, they're funny because they happen at the right time. But when the Xbox version came along, it was censoring everything. So that kind of took a little bit away from it, and they tweaked the odd places in the story that didn't match up with the N64 version. It was still a great campaign and it looked great, but they changed things that I don't think really needed to be changed. But the really disappointing thing about Conker Live and Reloaded was the multiplayer. I thought, we've got this remaster of the N64, Conker's Bad Fur Day. It's going to be great. We get a campaign, and then we get to play that amazing multiplayer experience over Xbox Live. Holy crap. It blew my mind. I was like, here we go. This is amazing. Yeah. Microsoft didn't go that road. I don't know why they chose to take a different route with the multiplayer. I feel they dropped the ball massively. I did warm to it eventually, and it became decent. I went from hating it to it just being decent. It never rose above that level. But they scrapped all the multiplayer from Conker's Bad Fur Day, and instead they went with a Terminator parody, deathmatch and objective-based stuff. Just whatever you would expect from most shooters back in 2003, whenever this remaster came out. Might have been after that. I don't know. When was the Xbox? Jesus Christ. Either way, it was a long time ago. And it was disappointing. It was disappointing. It was great that you could play a Conker game over Xbox Live with your friends or, with random people around the world, but it just wasn't the multiplayer experience that you had on the N64. And that was a major disappointment. And from there, Conker had... I think he was like built up that he was going to have like this new game experience, that Project Spark game where you could literally just create worlds and games within the game itself, Project Spark game. They stopped giving that game support for whatever reason. I don't know why, and I think they only came out with one episode of Conker. But the Conker was not mature. He was a Conker aimed at kids, which, to be fair, was actually how that character began before Conker's Bad Fur Day, but then Rare just went, boom, let's just make him a foul-mouthed, piss-head squirrel. And Project Spark went back to that, the old original version of Conker, which, again, is not the Conker I know and love. And then Rare Replay came out, which is basically just a port of the N64 version, which is good. It is good, but it was a shame that they didn't incorporate the multiplayer from the N64 and then throw it online. We didn't get that. We still had the offline side of things. That's not a bad thing. It just wasn't. They just didn't capitalize on a great opportunity there. But it was great to play the original N64 version of Conker's Bad Fur Day again, and that came out on the Xbox One. I still have that. I still play it every now and then. It only takes a couple of hours for me to get through it. I try and play it in front of the kids and then realize, oh, actually, no, it's not. It looks like a kid-friendly game, but I can tell you now, it is not. So get out the room, or I'll have to play it in the evening when they've gone to bed. It's just such a fun series. Well, not series, but fun game. I'd love to actually play the originals and just see what they're like, but I have so many fond memories of Conker's Bad Fur Day. And if you're somebody that has an N64 still at this point, and there is a reason why most people haven't heard of it. I think Conker's Bad Fur Day came out the very, very back end of N64, just as the PS1 hit. So it went very much under the radar. It's a forgotten gem. It honestly is. It's very underrated, and not that many eyes looked at it because it just came out at the wrong time. If this came out in peak N64 period, then it would be unbelievable. But it didn't. It came out in the tail end, and it suffered as a result of that. But it has a great following. It is a cult classic at this point, and I would love to do some like a playthrough of Conker at some point for the YouTube channel. I think that'd be really fun, and you get to experience that whilst I play a game that I absolutely adore. Is that the music, the characters, there's so many more are just flashing into my mind. There's like talking catfish who are just like poncy old women, scouse dung beetles. You're actually a vampire at one point. The end. I'm not going to give away the ending, but it parodies Alien, so you can kind of imagine what that ending is there. But it's just a funny game from start to the very finish. Birdie the Scarecrow is an absolute treat. I'm Birdie, I scare Birdie. That obviously doesn't sell it at all because it's me doing it, but play the game and you'll know what I mean. So much fun. I love Conker's Bad Fur Day. If you haven't played it, honestly, do yourself a favor and go and play it. I'm actually probably, as soon as I finish recording this and editing this, I'm actually probably going to go and play Conker's Bad Fur Day. I need it in my life. honestly, I think I do need it in my life. But there is. I mean, let's think about the gameplay for a second before we stop talking about it, because I haven't even mentioned the gameplay at all. It is a very bog standard platformer, and now I actually find it very hard to control. It feels a little bit archaic in that region, but then a lot of games that came out around that time, especially when you consider it was played on the N64 controller, which I think is I still to this day will say that is a terrible controller. Like what this bit, and then you got the middle, like it just didn't make any sense to me. They redeemed themselves with the GameCube controller, one of the best controllers that has ever been made. And I will do an episode on game controllers in the near future, because at some point everyone's held at least 5. Obviously, if you're a gamer, at least 5 game controllers in your hand. So there's plenty of opinions and plenty of great controllers, plenty of terrible controllers as well. I mean, the N64 for a start, and then the Duke. Remember the Duke? The Xbox original beast of a controller. Whew. But Conker I find it really hard to control now. And I think that's just because it's just an old game. I think they changed it up a little bit when they did the remaster on the Xbox, but then obviously now you've got the N64 port on Rare Replay. We've gone back to the old controls, but it is just a standard platforming game. You collect chocolate, which is your health. You collect tails, which is your lives. You collect money. That's you go around the world and you help people do stuff. You get money, or you reach like secret areas and you get money doing that. There's races. There's another game as well that's in multiplayer, Race, which is also part of the caveman bit. It's just a whale of a time. It's a very, very simple game to play. Very, very simple. I don't know why it popped in, but there's before that the Great Mighty Pooh boss fight, there's a dung beetle that gives you a big take the ball of poo. It's just a Scouse dung beetle. It tells you to take the ball of poo and then roll it up the mountainside. So you're literally pushing this poo up a mountain. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that now. You're just pushing poo up. It's hilarious. But it's it honestly makes me so happy thinking about this. I don't even the friend I played this with constantly back in the day. I'm not in touch with him anymore, which is a shame. We just grew apart. Living completely different sides of the country. But it makes me happy. I think at those times when we stayed up until stupid o'clock in the morning as 11, 12, 13-year-olds playing this game, and then all the times since when I, even the Live and Reloaded version, I have fond memories of that as well. And then having the opportunity to experience it again as an adult with Rare Replay has been a blast as well. I think I've completed it 3 times since Rare Replay came out, and not once does it ever get boring. It's fun. Video games are supposed to be fun. Conker's Bad Fur Day is fun, and that's what you need. An absolute joy of a game, and it's been fun revisiting it for me. And I hope I don't know if I've sold it to you, but if you do have the opportunity to, obviously, I know I've said it a few times already, but go and play it. Honestly, you'll have a great time, even if you're don't find that side of things funny. The gameplay itself is enough for you, to enjoy. Like it's such a fun time. Yeah, it's been great revisiting Conker's Bad Fur Day. There's so many games, so many forgotten gems, because that's what this is. I was actually thinking, this episode today, I'm going to do, some of my own personal forgotten gems that have, kind of just slipped my mind, and then I'll literally just look at a massive list of video games. Oh my god, I completely forgot about that game. Not really one of them, but I think it's a forgotten gem in the, outside of me, just in the world of video games alone. It is a forgotten gem. That's why it's a cult classic. But that's what I was going to do. But instead, I've decided to break all that up and spread it across a number of episodes. So today we had Conker's Bad Fur Day. We do have the Metal Gear, as I said last week, we do have a Metal Gear Solid series kind of retrospective look, a revisit with Anthony, who's my co-host on the Dits on Wrestling podcast. So we're going to be doing that. So these things are going to be coming up quite often. Me just revisiting and just feeling the need for some nostalgia. Because that's what it's all about. And see, just me just talking about that, and so many games are just popping in my head. Command and Conquer was one there. Messiah, which was this game where you played as this, like, I think it was like Cupid or something. It was weird, like a little Cupid baby. It was strange. It was strange. That just popped into my head. Quake. Remember Quake? An Unreal Tournament? Oh my god, like I could go on forever with this thing. Chronicles of Riddick. Escape from Butcher Bay. Woo! Oh, so many games. And so many episodes to come. So there's plenty of room to fit those in. Now, before we sign things off here, I did say that I was going to play that amazingly catchy tune from Conker's Bad Fur Day, When You Hit the Stone Age. So I'm going to start playing that right now. There it is. So that'll play in the background while we get my plugs in, because I forgot to do the plugs at the start, so I'm doing them now. Follow me on Twitter at Project Dits, and I post up loads of stuff on there. All my content goes on there, so all my links and all that kind of stuff go on there. So go and head to Twitter if you're on there and follow at Project Dits, and then you'll know exactly when everything drops. If you're here on YouTube watching this, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and then leave a comment. If you play Conker's Bad Fur Day and you want to throw out what you enjoyed about it or whatever, hit a comment, let me know. Or if there's any games you want me to look at, then throw them in the comments as well. Like, you will get to shape this show as much as I do. So I want it to be interactive, so hit the comments and hit that notification bell as well, so you never miss any Dits on Gaming episodes or any content on this channel as a whole. If you're listening to this in audio form, then if you're on Apple, then subscribe, leave a review, leave a 5-star review, and then a nice little narrative, telling me how amazing I am. I'm not one to really get a big head, but just feed my ego, please. Just feed my ego. Spotify, follow it, and then whatever any other podcast apps. I mean, this is on everything, so whatever you're listening to this on, subscribe, follow, whatever it is that podcast app offers up. And there is more content coming to this to the YouTube channel, in gaming wise. So if you're enjoying my gaming stuff, there is more coming. Unfortunately, I don't have the equipment to do proper game streams, which is something I want to do at some point in the future, but I just can't do it now. So I've had to go to mobile gaming, because I can actually record the screen that I'm playing on and then record. So, but it's turned out pretty well so far, the stuff that I have banked. I'm playing some horror games as well. I'm a fanny when it comes to those. I was playing Emily Wants to Play, and I don't think I've shat myself that much in a long time. Again, head to Project Dits on Twitter, at Project Dits, and the video should be pretty high up in my timeline. Go and watch it. Christ, I jumped a lot. I nearly fell out of my chair. So we got a lot of that coming. We have merch as part of Project Dits as well. Head to TeePublic, search for Project Dits, and you can get all the logos and original designs on there as well. And then I also have a Patreon page, so if you want exclusive content just for you, there are tiers for everybody. Tier 1 is just a support, so everything goes from $1 all the way up to $5. So if you want to have extra content from me that only you get to enjoy, exclusively yours, then pledge to the Patreon, or just show your support. You know, any little helps in this content creation journey. You know, it'll go into funding, you know, better equipment and better software and all that good stuff. So, you know, go and check that out as well. Head to Patreon/Project Dits and you'll find everything there. But guys, it's been an absolute pleasure talking about Conker's Bad Fur Day this week. Next week, I don't know what I'm doing next week yet. I haven't quite decided yet. There might be the Metal Gear Solid episode next week. Bear with me. But it'll be something good. It'll definitely be something good. But until then, enjoy all my other content on YouTube and across the Project Dits brand. And I will see you next time.